Okay, my name's Zakashi guys, and in this video here, I'm sure you guys have units that you very much invested into, and then what happened in the end, they ended up coming real irrelevant, like just not useful at all, and the reason is their kits don't have longevity. It might be a big factor of their team, it might be some other factors in the game like other counters and things like that. But really and truly, there are a lot of units in the game where a lot of people thought they were going to have a lot of life and they just did not end up having that life. It's quite unfortunate that actually that happens to units. So we will be looking into some of the units. Maybe I might do this as part 1, part 2, that were actually the stuff. Like they were that good stuff when they dropped in the game. Probably dropped a lot of chrono crystals into them and then they ended up just being crap, like not even a month later or something like that. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this video, man. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button, man. We're on this grind to 40,000 subscribers. All my social media links going to be on the bottom of the screen. It's the YouTube channel. We've got a Twitter, Twitch, Reddit, Instagram, and a Discord link all in the description below. I'm going to hold you guys up any longer. Let's actually get into this. Alright, so the first one we got on the list is Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku. This guy released for the 4th anniversary, the first LF unit, part 1 of the 4th anniversary. He was hype. And I'm not going to lie, this guy was cracked. He was actually cracked for a very long time. But I feel because of the boost system, generally speaking, is what made his life short-lived. Now, this guy is not bad by any means, but the only value he really has is the fact that he can waste a lot of the enemy's time by using his gauge so that he can't be hit, and then he might be able to emit some damage because obviously when you actually hit him, he has a little damage effect that bounces back to the person that attacked him. I don't even know what went wrong with this guy. I'd say it's pretty much that he just became very, very squishy real fast, but his defenses are not even that bad, so I think it's just within his unique ability. They did not add anything that is especially meant to keep him alive, like the sustained damage cut, anything like that, simply because he has the evade feature. He literally had probably the same lifespan as UI Sign, but maybe died maybe earlier or maybe about the same amount of time, simply because the devs see his gauge as such a useful feature that he shouldn't have amazing defenses. And that makes quite a bit of sense, because even every time Goku went into the MUI state or the UI state, he was always on a life support type of thing. But people really thought he would live a lot longer because he's literally one of the most unfair units in the game. Like, how could you actually just automatically win clashes and just dodge everything? That's pretty lame if you think about it for a PvP game. It's one of the most unfair units in the game, but he died really, really fast, especially for an anniversary unit. It's quite upsetting, to be honest. But he was good when he released nonetheless, and I feel like that shouldn't be swept under the rug, but he's number 1, I've got to mention him. We got MUI Goku. Given that I just mentioned MUI Goku and I did actually sprinkle a bit of UI Sign, I have to mention UI Sign. Now this guy here, on release actually, everybody thought because he was dodging stuff in the reveal, one of the best ever, by the way, maybe the best ever. This guy here was getting one-shotted by the likes of like Champa on release. It was insane. The way he was weak was nuts, and then he fell off a cliff real fast. It was quite upsetting, honestly. Specifically because he was actually so beautiful and fun to use. Like having Ultra Instinct in the game where you're just dodging stuff floating around. The explosive green made him real annoying, and the blue card does a lot of damage and he's able to get his gauge back up. That is real convenient, but without the stats to keep up, he's basically useless. Hopefully this guy gets a plat or a Zenkai. I'm really looking forward to it, and some type of he doesn't buff USS to my knowledge. Oh, he does. That's even great. So he could be a good unit for USS. Hopefully, I'm hoping he really gets a Zenkai. Maybe at the time you're watching this, he already has one, but one or the other, I think he'd be really good. But this guy here, on release, he was actually pretty good, but he was very weak at the same time. You're not going to get much out of him besides from his dodge nowadays, and even then, unless you're running a mono build, which is pretty much a dead team, I'm not going to lie, it's up for him. He's getting one-shotted by not even just yellows, pretty much any color. Unless you got him at 14 stars, he might be able to live, but outside of that, it's a long day for this guy. But this guy here, he was really good on release. His lifespan wasn't the greatest because even on his release, he was getting one shot, and that was just going to be the case because, of course, he has the dodge feature. So he's number 2 on this list. We got UI Sign. Okay, next we got Broly, LF Broly. Now this guy, when he released alongside Yellow Gogeta Blue, the amount of meat riding that this guy got was insane, and it's understandable simply because he gets draw speed on a lot of factors. You can't really switch out against him. He can just destroy your cards, things like loads of annoying things. He did a lot, and let's not even like disregard the fact that Bardock back in the day, even now he still can be very inconvenient, but crits, they just seem like they don't pop up as much, but that's just me anyways. But crits back then with Super Saiyan Bardock, with any other Super Saiyan, insane. And putting this guy here as the newest unit in the game, it was actually nuts. But outside of the fact that he could do a lot of damage and he builds up that damage, later going on as newer units released, this guy literally just got, it's like he got shadow nerfed. Like, it was insane. They just swept him under a rug. But it's very much, it made it so much more clearer that he was falling off a cliff, because yellow Gogeta Blue had more shine time than this guy. And the reason I say that is because people started to notice that the green card on yellow Gogeta Blue is more valuable than anything this guy's kit can do. If you can land that green card with yellow Gogeta Blue, you basically guarantee a kill. It's actually that unfair. But with this guy, you have to put in a lot more effort, and even with that effort, you don't exactly get the best results. He got a plat, it basically did nothing for him, and it just shows that in his kit, it might have seemed like he would have a lot of longevity, but I guess the stats are really what's holding him back. If he had a lot higher stats, then he'd be way too cracked. But then again, he's meant to work for that damage, build it up in a sense, and you're meant to keep it consistent. He's a one-man army type of guy, but if you mess up, you just lose it. So I could see straight away there was going to be a lack of longevity with this guy, me personally, but everybody was meat riding him to the point everybody still says, and was saying, maybe people have changed now, but people used to say, I'm not going to lie, I was one of those guys, because this guy was annoying. Oh, Gogeta Blue needs draw speed, I don't think Gogeta Blue needs draw speed. It was just this guy really just changing everybody's perspectives. But this guy fell off a cliff real fast within like a month or two. So yeah, get this Broly guy out of here, man. Shout out Gogeta Blue. He's still more usable than this guy with no plat, in my opinion anyways. That might be me riding, but yeah, this guy fell off fast. Gotta mention him, man. I think he's number 3. We got Broly. Now this guy here, he was very dangerous, and he was actually very, very good. I'd say he still is very, very good, but he had a very bad situation. Very, very bad situation. It's not necessarily that his kit is actually bad, but directly after him, we got Beast Gohan, the literally Antichrist Tourette's, bro. Like, if you see Beast Gohan and you're running this guy, you might as well just hang it up. But what was felt a lot more after the fact that Beast Gohan dropped was that if you're not using Super Saiyans, and people were using some sort of Super Saiyans prior to this guy releasing, because of Ultra Super Vegeta being the part 3 for the anniversary, and we also had the green LF Super Saiyan Trunks, there was the green Gohan that transforms that Zenkai. There were a lot of Super Saiyans about. On top of that, you can just imagine Bardock there as well. So if you're running this guy, he's gonna do a lot more. He goes type neutral and things like that, and with him being boosted, it was very much felt. But when he fell off the boost, he was out of here. Beast Gohan dropped, even more reason for him to be out of here. So I'd say it's just a very bad situation. But again, it's not as valuable. His kit is not as valuable as it once was sought out to be, or what we thought it was going to be. Simply because if you're not running Super Saiyans, he doesn't shine as much. You have to be running a very specific team, so like a higher level LOE team, or like a very, very high star movies team. I've seen some people like Billy run cool at 14 stars, but that's 14 stars. Like, you can make anyone look good at 14 stars, you know what I'm saying? But if you're not running Super Saiyans, I feel like this guy, he just doesn't shine. He doesn't shine, and he's really just meant to do exceptional damage specifically against Super Saiyans. So I'm gonna leave it like that, man. He had a very bad situation, but on top of that, it's very evident that his skill set, his kit, doesn't show out if you're not using Super Saiyan. So he definitely needs to make this list. He's on the thumbnail as well. So shout out Cooler, man. Shout out Cooler, man. This one here, I've been waiting to talk about this one here, because the amount of meat riding because it's Dragon Fist Super Saiyan 3 Goku was insane. I've never liked this guy. Off the trailer, I didn't like him, because he had the summon animation. That just ripped lock off for me straight away. But outside of that, when I saw his kit, I was like, I know I'm not going to summon on this guy. I did spend on the banner. I spent 4k, 5k for content purposes. I didn't get him. Besides the point, I usually spend like 10k if I want the character. I knew this guy wasn't going to last long, simply because his kit revolved around him having 2 no cover change, the nullify cover change thing with the first 2 switch-ins, and the fact that he needs to fill his gauge to get a lot of what makes his kit valuable, dead. And even when he's last stand, I guess you get that little sprinkle of, oh, 1 card and your gauge fills. You still have to work for it, even though you're last stand. They should have made it at least fill instantly. There were just a few things here and there that just made it not too valuable. And in the moment, of course, when he's boosted, he's able to do a long amount of damage, long combos. But after the boost fell off, he wasn't doing any damage pretty much. It takes too long. Even before, it took too long to fill up his gauge. there's not even, now there's Ultra Gogeta Blue, but I think at that time, like, Mono Purple was just lurking. People just hang on to that team for dear life. But back then, there wasn't even that, like, Purples weren't that eminent in the game, so, like, he had a lot of shine time. He didn't have really any oppressors, so he was looking real good. But I knew this guy was going to fall off a cliff. I was preaching it, man. And as we see, he's one of the most disapproved units in the game, even though he released only, like, what, six months ago? Not long. So that's quite disappointing. But the meta is moving a lot faster nowadays. So again, at the same time, hey, what can you say? With the boost system being in place, if you can't even keep up after the boost, you're immediate zero. Like, you're not even in the conversation anymore. But this guy was dipping immediately, like, after the Ultra Super Vegeta release. Tapion had more life than this guy. Tapion still has more life than this guy, and I think he'll forever have more life than this guy. Tapion's like that support guy for movies, but Pan's better now, so yeah. But yeah, gotta mention Super Saiyan 3 Dragon Fist Goku. Very overrated unit. Kit was not it from release, but a lot of people, recency bias, you know, they get blind. But yeah, Dragon Fist, man. I think this is gonna be the last one I mention, but it's a must mention, man. This one here, TN. This guy here came into the game with the preview, Rising Rush Nullification. Everyone's like, oh my god. Right? What? Rising Rush Nullification, that is a big deal. But he released without it being in his kit. Made no sense. That is tapped. Like, it must have been bugged on something, but even if it was bugged, like, were they that down on staff to, like, get it right in time? Why would they release the unit? It's basically false advertising. Why would they release the unit and not give us the mechanic that's literally making his kit? But on top of that, he just wasn't that good anyways. Like, you could use him if you want, but then just using him with so many features that, like, lock his abilities. So I think if, like, the enemy has, like, if they have less than 3 units while this character's on standby and there are 3 enemy battle members. So if they have 2, if you're already 1 up, right, you can't use the Rising Rush Nullification. And that's like a big, like, what? It should at least be just once a game. Just ignore all of that. So it just made it be like, okay, what's the point then? Because usually Rising Rushes come when it's most inconvenient. So like in a 1v1 situation, if it was TN, it should be able to work no matter what as well. So he was a big sell, man. He was a big sell. He was meant to be like the savior or an opening door to stop Rising Rushes being so annoying. He would have had so much longevity. But off being released, he was hyped up. People were using him for like a week after the Rising Rush thing dropped. And we're like, yeah, man, this guy ain't it. We thought it was heat, but no longevity, man. It was cool when he dropped, but beyond that, what's the point, man? What's the point? That's going to be the end of this video, man. I could probably do a part 2 of this video because there are a lot of other characters that I did want to mention, and there's some that I didn't mention because I didn't want to make this video too long. But when we have these things that happen in the Dragon Ball Legends history, let's say, they drop units here, and then the units, we like them on release, but then they just drop so badly, or they're just not units that you would see yourself using, and you might have invested into them big time, but then they just become irrelevant so fast. It's really, really upsetting that you put your Chrono Crystals into something like that, and then you just have to, like, suffer the next season or the next month because they release another LF or Ultra that's gonna, like, overshadow whatever you have. So yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Let me know if you want a part 2 though. If you haven't already, make sure to press that subscribe button, man. We're on this grind to 40,000 subscribers. All my social media is going to be on the bottom of the screen. It's the YouTube channel. We've got Twitter, Twitch, Reddit, Instagram, and a Discord link all in the description below. But I'm gonna leave it like that, guys. I appreciate you guys for watching, all the love and support on the channel. It means a lot to me, honestly. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one, man.